Welcome back, everyone, to After the Scales podcast, episode 69, presented by DJD Graphics. I'm Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight of Canadian Racing Tours. On today's episode, we have Asphalt Super Late Model driver from Brighton, Michigan, Kyle CRUMP, joining us. Kyle, thanks for coming on today's episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me on after the scales. First appearance, but glad to be here.
So over this past weekend, Shaun headed to Toledo Speedway, where he saw you pick up the win with the CRA JEGS series. Just talk about that win, what it meant to you and your team, and just the overall experience.
It was a cool deal. This was the first time I'd like kind of seen Shaun. He was over at a race last year with me in Canada, but we never met or anything. But coming on over to Toledo for the season opener, reconnected with Stan and Judy Rosen in the 131 machine. First race with them this year, first race for the JEGS Tour. Going to Toledo, it was really a cool deal. I've finished second at Toledo so many times, and I really just wanted to get a victory finally. And had a really awesome race there with Blake Rowe in the TK Racing 71. Came right down to the wire, and I wish we could have raced the last 20 laps out, but circumstances fell a certain way. But to be able to, wrap up with a win, reconnecting with the team, finally getting a win at Toledo, it was just an overall really cool deal.
Yeah, that was my first time ever at Toledo Speedway, and I was really impressed. Like, that's a really fast track. The banking was really steep. You said you finished second there a bunch of times, so obviously you like it a lot more now that you've won there. But what's your impression as a driver of that racetrack?
Yeah, it's kind of a saying here in Michigan. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but it's kind of like Toledo is the man's racetrack when it comes to the Midwest region here. Granted, you have a Winchester, but that's its whole own animal. But yeah, Toledo is bad fast. Big half mile. You honestly carry the same speeds as you do at Winchester, but Toledo is really racy, so you can get yourself in a lot of situations. And it was actually pretty impressive. I've always said Toledo can have really good races for the lead, but normally it always gets strung out, kind of like you saw in the USAC race or in the ASA races. But yeah, with the Pro Late Model JEGS Tour race, Blake Rowe and I had really competitive cars, and you could see a really great battle take place.
Yeah, that was great that at Toledo you guys were racing, with the USAC Silver Crown there as well. Brought a lot of attention to the JEGS CRA series. Just talk about that series as a whole. It's not a cars tour or a UARA type of series, but it's still, pretty prominent. You got good drivers, good competition. So just talk about some of the other drivers that you're racing against.
Yeah, JEGS Tour, it's been picking up steam in the recent years, probably past 2-3 years when Scott Menlin and the ASA Stars Tour kind of took over involvement in running that tour. It kind of fell off the map the years prior before that, but seeing some really good growth and resurgence in it now that super late models kind of died in the north. Now everyone's shifting their eyes onto the pro late model scene, and you're starting to see that with bigger payouts, bigger field sizes. I think we had 20 plus cars come to Toledo, so really excited to see where that tour goes and how it develops. But that is the cream of the crop when it comes to late model drivers in the Midwest. The JEGS Tour is kind of the home for it, and then obviously the next step would be ASA Stars Tour or whatnot. But yeah, no, that it is a tough field, tough competition, and really just thankful to be a part of it.
Yeah, so along with the JEGS CRA Tour, I've seen you race one other time, and that was the Outlaw Super Lates up here at Flamborough, and you won that as well. So we were joking the other day that I'm 2 for 2 seeing you win races, so I might have to join your crew if this keeps up. But talk about the Outlaw Super Late. So my dad's cousin Glenn Watson has raced those for years up here, and he's won a number of championships. They're badass race cars. I love seeing them in person. They don't get a lot of love. They're pretty regional, so you don't see them race a whole lot. Tell us about that series. I've got a photo of the car that you drove last year, and I think you're driving it again this year, the 16.
Yep, I'll be driving that car again. But yeah, I actually got to meet Glenn Watson when we came over to Flamborough, and yeah, I mean, I'm not huge on like history and oval track racing, but I knew Glenn Watson was the man when I went over to Canada. I've always heard his name, so it was cool to get to connect with him. And then he actually came stateside and raced with us at Owasso later in the year. But yeah, right there on screen, that's Bobby Blunt, the blue number 16. We call it the Sweet 16.
Yeah, beautiful
Uh,
car.
Beautiful car. So I'll be driving again for him this year. I think the first race is not this weekend, but next weekend over at Berlin. So if you're open, you should probably come on over that way, get a little bit of luck. But yeah, I'm excited. That's where my focus is going to be this year, is driving that Outlaw. That's where all the big money shows are up here, especially with Owasso Speedway, doing all the renovations and all that. They're kind of having their own local tour there with just absolutely insane purses on the line.
And Kyle, you actually be racing that Outlaw Super Late May 3rd at Berlin Raceway coming up. That'll be your next event. I know Shaun can pull up the race schedule, but kind of talk us over, how you're feeling about Berlin and some of the other tracks that you got coming up on your schedule.
Berlin is a very tough racetrack, but I like it. It's very dependent on how good your car is. There's not a lot of tools you can do as a driver to kind of compensate. It's really how good you got your car set up. But had some good luck there in the past. Picked up a pretty big win. It's called Battle at Berlin back in 2021. So got some good experience there. I'm excited to go there in an Outlaw, see what it's like. That's our season opener for, it's called Reveal the Hammer. It's a Outlaw series over in the Midwest, other excluding Owasso. But so gonna head there for Reveal the Hammer. Hopefully knock one out of the park. Pay 7,500 to win, so a really nice purse. And excited to get to Berlin. I don't know if you've heard about it, but the fan attendance there and the
Yeah.
facility is next to none.
And that's one, is Johnny Benson still involved with that racetrack? I believe he was in the past.
He definitely was in the past.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like a let's say daily role, but I do know
Mhm.
they still contact him a lot about things.
Yeah. And yeah, I've got your schedule up here on the screen. You can see in blue that'll be the Outlaw schedule, and then your Pro Late model in white. I don't see Flamborough on there, Kyle. We were talking about that. I'm hoping you can squeeze that in, because I really enjoyed that race last year.
Yeah, that was my first time at Flamborough. Actually, I'd never heard of the racetrack until
Yeah.
until Bob.
It's been around a long time up here, and I don't know if it's had a coat of paint on it since it opened, but very historic racetrack up here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure coming on over there. I really like that racetrack. I wish we could maybe, get a JEGS Tour race or something over on that
Mhm.
side. Like it is a very racy little joint, but it's just not on the schedule right now. I was talking with Bob, and we knew we were going to run, let's say, Reveal the Hammer and Owassos. So it's just not set in stone. We're going to Flamborough, but it's definitely on our list. So as long as nothing happens to the car and keep the engines all good, we'll be heading that way. I guarantee it.
Perfect. What's the state of racing like overall? You feel like kind of in Michigan, Ohio, because I see, you mentioned the Outlaw super lates. Their car counts are crazy up in Michigan. And looking at some of the races last year that Glenn went down to, 40 cars or something like that trying to qualify. I feel like asphalt racing, the late models have taken a bit of a dip the last few years, but they really seem healthy up in our area.
Again, kind of going back to Owasso, but the owner of Owasso, Rex Wheeler, he's putting a lot of money on the line here,
Mhm.
putting the racetrack, getting the facility, kind of the improvements they're doing there is absolutely insane. But along with that is he's bringing a very large purse to all of the races, local divisions like modified, street stocks, it kind of paying what racing should be paying,
Yeah.
or honestly a little bit more. So that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the growth in, let's say, outlaw late models. Everyone's kind of coming back out of the woodwork because they have a reason to go to the racetrack. They're not going to be knowing they're losing, all of their money to go run a race. They're at least going to get some pocket change back.
And I'm curious, Kyle, to know your opinion because you've raced both of these cars. But between the Outlaw Super Late and the Super Late model, what are some differences that you notice, driving these different types of disciplines? Obviously, other than the bodies, the engine, the horsepower, just some of the differences, that you might have to race differently between each car.
The pro late and super late model, you have to be a lot more smooth and methodical, let's say. They don't have nearly as much grip, not nearly as much downforce. They have less horsepower, which makes it easier. But yeah, it's just overall less grip in those cars. So you got to be a lot more smooth on the wheel and all of your inputs. And then when you climb in an Outlaw late model, I mean, you see the bodies. It's got so much downforce. They got a little bit different rear end geometry, but other than that, it's usually the same when it comes to the frame and suspension packages. But Outlaw is just hammer down. You got a ton of horsepower, drive it in hard, let the downforce do the work. So two really different disciplines, and that's kind of why you see guys struggle if they hop from, let's say, an Outlaw to a template, because it is a little bit harder to go from driving a car super hard and then having to be super methodical and smooth. So two honestly pretty different disciplines, but just a blast, honestly.
Have you seen any of the photos or videos of the Outlaw Super Lates from like the late 80s, early 90s? Like I remember as a kid going to see Junior Hanley was one of my racing heroes as a kid. And like the wings they used to have on these cars, like they were crazy looking. I know Glenn and I talk about it quite a bit, but have you seen any of that?
It comes up on my Facebook feed. I don't know
Yeah.
what page it is, but I enjoy it. I'm glad it comes up. It's like NASCAR or short track history or something, and I'll see like a picture of, let's say one of Mark Martin's Outlaw cars
Yeah.
or one of Gary Blue's, and just seeing those photos. I always copy it real quick and send it to my group chat with my friends. I'm like, look how cool it used to be, and now you got.
Yeah.
It's still cool now, but like
Yeah.
back in the day, it's like
Yeah. Just
wow what they
wild
were
looking
doing.
cars.
Hmm.
Yeah. Kyle, tell us a little bit about how you grew up, what you were, your first race car racing in your family, that kind of stuff. Where did you come from in racing?
So I started out in go-karts, a little bit different than like let's say the traditional quarter midget route. I did it was called WKA at the time. It's like road course go-kart racing. It was kind of a across the states. There was a regional and a national tour. So dipped in that when I was younger. But I always liked NASCAR, so kind of wanted to go the circle track route. So we actually hopped in my parents got me a four-cylinder just to make sure I liked going in circles. So I actually raced one of the four cylinders for about 1 to 2 years, and yeah, I decided it was the route I wanted to go. So once we decided on that, they actually forked up the money to get me a late model. So ended up running. We ran select JEGS events like 3 or 4 a year just because of how expensive it was. Thankfully, we were able to do pretty well in them. I was running, we knock off a top five and then a top three every now and again when we get real lucky. But had that own personal car, grew connections within the racing scene. I was actually going off to college in 2017, and so we had to sell the car because college is just insanely expensive. So was selling the car, and as I was selling the car, all the ducks kind of came in a row, and Stan and Judy R&D racing ride came, at my feet, and so was able to pick up that super ride in 2017. So and then from there just kind of kept working hard, trying to get the results that I felt like I could achieve, and ever since then just kind of picking up rides as I go.
I know we were kind of talking off camera, but as you're sitting there in your room, got your simulator. We're big iRacing guys over at Phenom Motorsports, so I have to ask you, are you using the simulator as kind of a tool to practice maybe the late model or some of the other race cars for fun? Does it really translate to what you're doing at your actual racing event, and if it really helps?
I'm a big proponent of iRacing. I don't necessarily say like if you're going to race a late model, practice the late model in iRacing, but more of build your I rating up and just get in those high SOF races, whether it's a truck race or a B car or any of those high SOFs where you're racing every now and again you'll get a pro in the lobby or something like that. But just getting practice racing with guys who are extremely good at that craft and seeing how they're positioning cars or setting up runs, and when you learn those situations of how to set up runs or how to use certain tire wear and feelings of the car. I really think a lot of that can translate. You really need to get in the higher end lobbies, and that's where you'll see the most growth.
All right. Yeah. Kyle, did you have any aspirations beyond the late model racing, or are you kind of happy where you're at?
When I was younger, well, younger, I'll say like probably 5 years ago,
Mhm.
I had a pretty good run. I was connected with two pretty good teams at the time. One of them was Crosstown Motorsports, and I was blessed to have them take me down to, let's say, All American 400 or run some of the bigger ASA shows. And at the time, I was really thinking because I was still like 24, 25 at the time. I was thinking, yeah, if I could really, shine here, maybe I could achieve the next step of making it to maybe a truck start if all the stars align and get the right sponsorship and whatnot. But at the point I'm at now, I'm just looking at enjoying racing, going to racetracks I like, and having a good time there. And then, if the stars align, I'm still somewhat young. I'm 29, but I'm always open to going and trying it, but it's definitely not as high of a goal on my list as it used to be.
Yeah, it's no doubt that racing takes a lot of effort, energy, and money and resources to reach your goals. So, would you say that you'd be content with maybe NASCAR might not be an option, and maybe you can run the late models for the rest of your career? Would you be pretty happy with that?
It would be because the spot I'm in now, like I'm an engineer at Bosch North America. I do chassis controls. So if you're familiar with like ABS or stability control, I pretty much calibrate all of those systems to make sure they handle appropriately and save you if you were to get sideways or something on the road. So it's kind of hard for me to, let's say start back up my own late model team. It's very expensive, just I'd have to, get a shop or get a new house with a bigger garage, buy a trailer, all that. So it's kind of almost not feasible for me to do anymore, maybe down the road in like a decade or so. So really just hoping I can, keep clicking off wins and keeping these doors open to where I can at least keep racing right now without having to, spend my own dollar.
And we like asking this. We don't ask it every week, but mostly most weeks. If you had any advice for young drivers coming up today, what would you say is the number one thing they kind of need to know how to do?
One thing, if I were to look back on my career, uh, I would say definitely stay on the cleaner side of racing things. Don't like make a lot of enemies, let's say, because the racing community, as large as it is quite small. So don't make a lot of enemies because you never know what you're going to need down the road. I've had race teams where just because I've been good in good communication with them over time, they've offered me a ride, like such as like the Billy Van Meter deal. So, stay clean on track. Don't try to go above the level or skill level that you're at. Let's say you're running weekly in a sportsman car. Make sure you're clicking off wins there. You always need to be like, let's say, staying in the spotlight per se of where you can feasibly be. So don't try to jump up to a high level class if you don't have the money to get the right stuff to run, let's say an appropriate amount of races to where you can showcase your talent. You don't want to, let's say, belittle yourself because you don't have the right tools in your toolbox to, run at a higher level. Stick to a lower one. Keep that spotlight on you, and the doors will open.
Yeah, you mentioned Billy Van Meter. Just talk about some of the role models and people that really helped you throughout your racing career. Obviously, I was talking about how expensive racing is, so obviously it takes a lot of sponsors as well. So just talk about all the people that support you.
Yeah, big help back in the day for me when I was starting late model racing. Chad and Jeff Finley, they're pretty well known in the Michigan scene. They kind of took me under their wing when I was really young, just showing me late models, showing me how to work on them when I had my own car, helping me with setup advice and all of that. And then, of course, I got to thank the Van Dorn brothers, Johnny and Butch Van Dorn. They kind of brought me into their stable right when they were building up their chassis shop, and a lot of the deals that I've been able to put together have been through them, just through word of mouth. And then yeah, I just can't thank Stan and Judy Rosen enough for letting me back in their car this season, and of course Bobby Blount just to go have fun in an Outlaw car here pretty soon.
So, Cal, we really appreciate your time. Before we let you run, we always end with our DJD Gear rapid fire segment. We've got 10 questions for you that we're going to fire off to you. And here we go. Your favorite racetrack that you've raced at?
I'm gonna have to go with Old Owasso for the repave.
Okay. What's your earliest memory at a racetrack?
Uh, Crandon, Wisconsin. It was they're off-road cars. They actually have them in iRacing, Pro 2, Pro 4 trucks. My parents used to race like the buggies, the smaller division.
Okay.
So I grew up around those places.
What's a race car that you haven't raced that you would love to try?
Let's see, sprint car. I'll go with the sprint car.
All right, love that. Um, what's a track you haven't been at that you would love to race at once?
I'm gonna go with let's say Kern County over in California.
Okay. Oh, interesting. A race that you haven't won that is on your bucket list to win.
All American 400 for sure.
All right. So you mentioned your parents used to race. So we'll say aside from family, who were some of your racing heroes growing up?
When I was really young, Tony Stewart, and then in the late model scene, it was definitely Johnny Van Dorn.
All right. Yeah, I know Jacob's a big Tony Stewart guy, so he'll appreciate that. Your favorite artist or band?
I'm a big, let's say, Savell guy right now.
Okay, good
Kind of
choice.
changes with the month, but yeah.
Some of the things you love to do away from the racetrack.
Just big sim racer. I just love racing.
All right. We'd like to ask this of people from smaller towns. What's the best thing to do in Brighton, Michigan?
A place called the Mill Pond. It's a nice area to walk around. It's downtown. Got a bunch of little stores and shops. It's a really nice area.
Okay, cool. All right. And last one we've got for you. What is your biggest pet peeve when you're driving your streetcar?
I would say just slow traffic.
I think slow drivers in the left lane is
Yeah,
the one that comes up the most.
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's an epidemic up here. It's not as bad. I don't find it as bad in the States. It's really bad up here. All right, Kyle, we really appreciate you coming on, man. It was nice to talk to you and get to know you a bit because I see you win when I see you race. So I'll have to get to a few more races this year. You might have to start paying me, man.
Sounds good, dude.
All right, man. Have a good one and good luck this year.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again to Kyle for being on today's episode. We really appreciate it, and we wish him the best of luck moving forward the rest of this year. Before we recap the end of this episode, we wanted to talk about some recent racing news and results. The big news is being in the sprint car world with Shark Racing departing with Cale Thomas in the 1A. Comes as a surprise because he just got that ride, raced 2 races, jumped 2 cars. Basically, we kind of had the insight from our guy about giving the seat to Cale and basically departing the team. So end up coming true that they departed with him. So comes as a big news. That doesn't really seem like they gave him a lot of time to get behind the wheel of that car and maybe see it can be competitive. But Shaun, talk about what you think of that and about the news about Ashton Torgerson driving this weekend for them.
Yeah, I'm sure information will kind of come out as the weeks and months go by, but I'm kind of with you. Like, I know he had a bad weekend, but to give a guy 2 races, it almost makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes, if there was more to it. The Ashton Torgerson news, kind of came out of left field. I actually got a text this morning. I woke up to one that said that there's a rumor that was going to happen, and I didn't really believe it. And I reached out to our buddy Austin Torgerson to see if I could get any inside info. And by the time, he's 3 hours behind. So by the time the news came out, I don't know, he maybe just woke up or whatever. So it was already announced. So, but I briefly met Ashton at Chili Bowl. I got to hang out with Austin quite a bit. They're both great kids. I'm really happy for Ashton. I know, people aren't really happy with how it was handled, or the fact that the ride's not going to someone from Pennsylvania, but this Bobby Allen's not running a charity, he's running a business, and this is the way it is in racing. You've got to bring sponsorship, you've got to bring some backing, and I do kind of think that this announcement kind of leads to them wanting to get back on tour next year. If Ashton's able to bring that Safety Clean sponsorship, that would certainly help them out with that. So that's kind of where I see it. I can see both sides, but I'm happy for Ashton, and it's going to be a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, and for our viewers that might not, really know Ashton as a driver outside of, him running the midget at the Chili Bowl and him running out west in his 02 360 sprint car. Running out there against that competition, and recently running this year in the Snow number 7 410 sprint car. Didn't have the best results, so far this year in that equipment, but it's not the same equipment as the 1A, so should be enticing to see. Right now, he's only got 3 races on his schedule with the 1A team, so we'll see how he does moving forward. It could be kind of like a tryout thing, see how he does. If he doesn't tear anything up, then that's already moving in the right direction, but with that type of resource with, Jacob Allen kind of being your driver coach, I'm sure he's going to tell the young driver to, bring it home clean and just get as many laps as possible and see how he does, because they had, similar success when they brought a West Coast driver like Tanner Holmes over. So,
And Ashton had a good run in the snow car, and that's, I mean, I know there was one, I forget which track it was, but there was one race out there with High Limit where he made the show and finished in the top 15. And for a guy who doesn't have much 410 races under his belt, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And some other news where you were at Attica and you got to see one of our former guests, Devin Borden, inherit the win after a disqualification. Scotty Thiel was the car that crossed the finish line first, but was disqualified for a 2-inch wicker bill, which going back, you could easily see that the wicker bill was way too big. And Shaun, tell us about that behind the scenes.
Yeah, so Devin Borden, to be fair, he did pass Scotty Thiel with 2 to go. The yellow came out. They had to go back a lap, but Borden took the lead. So I wasn't really of the opinion, I like Devin and I like Scotty as a driver. So I wasn't, really that upset about it because he did take the lead with 2 to go. And if that yellow didn't come out, he would have won anyway. But yeah, it was interesting. I'm crossing the start finish line, the front stretch to go to Victory Lane to take some photos, and I'm hearing the public address announcers kind of tell us like, "Hang on, everyone! Like, I think Borden's coming in here." So really happy for Devin, his first win with Grove. He wasn't expecting it. I got to hang out with him throughout the night, and we had some great chats. He's a great dude. I love the guy, and he can wheel a race car, and he only really knows one way around, and that's up top. And we love that. So yeah, congrats to him. He was really happy and much deserved. And I know Scotty, he's gonna bounce back too, because I love watching him wheel a race car too.
Yeah, and we got the All-Stars Circuit of Champions coming back here soon. 13 full-timers, Devin being one of them. I know Board's going to be competitive up there, competing in the points, along with guys like Brandon Spithaller. Just talk about, what you're looking forward with that series, because, we've already been spoiled with a lot of Outlaw and High Limit shows. Yeah,
and Creed Kemenah was named today. I don't know if that was already kind of included in that or not, but I guess that was official today. So, yeah, it's great. I'm hoping, or I was hoping for more races kind of in New York State. It's mostly Ohio, so I won't get to a whole lot of them, but maybe next year. But yeah, it's great for regional racing. They need that. And where drivers can kind of hone their craft and on a smaller touring scale and visit some different tracks. So yeah, great for the sport to have that back.
And I know we were kind of talking off camera, but you mentioned about, not being able to ESS again. They already got rained out, so not ideal there.
Yeah, the plan right now is ESS. I'm going to go to Fulton on Friday for what's now going to be their first race. The weather is not looking great again, unfortunately for them. But we'll see. That can change. So that's the plan right now, to go to Fulton. If that show does get rained out, I heard that Jordan Thomas is going to go to Big Diamond. They have a 360 and 358 modified show there, so I'll probably follow them there. And then going to Port Royal for Saturday, Sunday. They've got the Keith Kaufman Classic, which I did last year, which is a great race. And then the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series rolls in on Sunday. The forecast looks amazing for that. So no rain in the forecast at all for Sunday. I don't want to jinx it, but it looks really good. So that'll be a good show, seeing the late models on a half mile where you can really flex their muscles. I always enjoy that.
And kind of behind the scenes, and kind of the reason why I missed last episode, I was getting a taste of my own crew working with Clay Harris Racing. I want to thank him again for giving me opportunity. Shaun was actually one of the first people to show me that they were looking for a crew guy. Kind of, worked with Clay last week, trying to, get more experience with it, and didn't really work out. So at least I, tried it, and I would have been seeing Shaun this weekend if I went through with it. But
yeah, no shame in trying something. It's an awful lot of work. I don't know how those guys do it on a weekly basis with the travel and being away so much. And it is cool that you at least got to see that behind the scenes. So a lot of great racing, even if you're not going to racetrack. World of Outlaws. The late models are down at Talladega. The sprint cars are in Illinois, and High Limit is back next week from their month off. So yeah, a lot of great racing coming your way. If the weather's good in your area, please get out to your local short track because they need your support. And yeah.
And we appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's episode. Really appreciate everybody that watches and shares our videos. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're sitting at 360 subscribers, so shooting for that 400 mark. Also, thankful for everybody who shares on our Instagram page. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.
After the Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Shaun and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.